Welcome back, this is Noobzilla. I've had quite a few people ask me for the different macros and specs that I use. So for my RB warrior build, what I use is 61 Riftblade, 5 Tempest, and then 10 Paragon. So if you want to use the spec that I use, and a lot of other people, just go ahead and fill up all of Riftblade there. For Tempest, what I do is 5-5 Amped. For Paragon, what I do is 5-5 Teaching of the 5 Rings. And then I do 5-5 for weapon familiarity. So that'll be 61, and then 5 Tempest, 10 Paragon. And then for this spec, I use 4 different macros. I use a RB Builder macro, my RB Finisher macro, RB AoE macro, and then an AoE Stun macro. So the main spam button one is the RB Builder. And all these will be in the description box, so you can just copy and paste. But if you want to do it now, you can just go ahead and pause the video and check it out. But it's Show Rift Strike, Cast Rift Strike, Cast Searing Strike, Cast Stone Shield, Cast Shock Pulse, Cast Turn the Blade, and Cast Break Free. If you're doing any serious games, you probably want to take Break Free out just like any other spec that you have, but just for normal pug stomping, you can go ahead and put Break Free at the bottom, because more times than not, it's really not going to be an issue. And then for the finisher, I do Show Fiery Burst, and then Cast Fiery Burst, Cast Icy Burst, Cast Frost Strike, and Cast Burst Synergy. A lot of people will put Frost Strike in a different slot altogether, but I like to put it down here, because what I'll do is just run up. Now with the 0, I'll go ahead and use the Frost Strike, as you see, and it'll pop up there. So then I'll just go through my rotations. And then once that gets back down to 0, I'll just hit my finisher button again, and then that'll reapply the Frost Strike. So it's important to keep that up. And then for the RB AoE, I do Cast Rift Spear, Cast Flame Spear, Cast Thunder Strike, and Cast Offensive Blast. You really are only going to be using these two if you're trying to interrupt somebody that's picking up an objective. You really don't want to include that into any part of your main rotation, and some people will also say the same thing about Flame Spear. So if you want to use these 3 down here, you can, but it's mainly going to be for interruptions for objectives. Your bread and butter obviously is Rift Spear. And then my AoE stun, I do Show Rift Barrage, Cast at GTAE Rift Barrage, and then Cast Wind Spear. So those are the 4 macros. There's 5 buffs they use for this spec. The first one is Blade of the Ascended, and as you can see, that grants Storm Blade, Blade of the Elemental Affinity, Planar Blade, and Blade of the Ascended. And then after that, you want to do Avatar of the Rift, and then after that, Way of the River, and then Enhanced Conductivity, and then good old Fork, have that toggled like that. So those are the 4 buffs. So my rotation will usually look like this. I'll throw a Rift Implosion, and then once that up, I usually Rift Walk over there. So if I hit my macro for that, that'll take me behind. And then once I get up to 3 here, I'll hit my finisher macro. And then I'm just going to hit my finisher macro again. That way it applies my Frost Strike. If you do not put Frost Strike in your macro, you'll make sure that you want to hit that button. Then you just want to build back up to 3. And then if there's ever a clump, like these people here, you can go and use your AoE, so toss out your Rift Spear, then toss out Flame Spear. But most of the time you want to be up close and, personal with your target. I like to keep up Rift Implosions, so it's something to keep an eye on. If you use Carol Alert, that's a good indicator there. So that's usually my rotation. So Rift Implosion, main builder until 3, and then you want to go ahead and hit your Fiery Burst or Icy Burst, and then make sure that you keep up your Frost Strike. So besides the 4 macros that I just went over, there's other things that I use on my action bars. You definitely want Rift Implosion up, that I went over before, and then you want to have Stone Spear up. That's a non-global cooldown interrupt that you have. That's every 8 seconds, which is pretty amazing. You want Guard up for sure. Toss it on other good DPS or healers if needed. If you have any questions about this spec, you can leave them in the description box, and I'll try to get back to you with them. I'm not any sort of math magician or mathlete in this game. I don't do parses. I don't do any real theory crafting besides looking at tooltips. So I just do what feels right. If you want to use the spec and tweak it, you can do that, of course. And then if you want to use different macros, you have to find out what works best for you. This works for me, so hopefully you can get something from this. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.